Still with the Center for Community Health. But one of our other programs is Safe Baby Sleep. So this age group is a little bit different because it's much smaller. We talk to families that have children in their home that are 0 to 12 months or under that 1 year of age. A lot of the recommendations we give them can continue on past that 1 year of age, but that's when they're highest at risk for suffocation, especially in their sleeping environment, is that under 12 months. So with Safe Sleep, what we try to get parents to remember are the ABCs of Z's: alone, on their back, and in a crib. So the ABC. Those are the three biggest things. If we can remember that, then that's kind of what we want them to walk away with. Our highest risk areas. So this is the infant mortality rate in Texas from 2010 to 2018. So each one of those are a different ethnicity, but what I want to point out is that very top line at the top, which says non-Hispanic Black. So African American infants are twice as likely to die from being in an unsafe sleep environment than any other ethnicity. At Cook Children's, since January of 2022 until June 30th of 2023, we have seen 32 deaths due to unsafe sleep environments, and over half of those were African American babies. It's important that I say that 32, that is a large number, but that is only what we have seen at Cook Children's. That does not include those that when MedStar arrived, when first responders got there, were not able to be revived and did not make it to Cook Children's. So that number is very large. Currently, that's actually higher than the amount of gut injuries and drownings we've seen combined in that same time frame. So that is a lot we're seeing lately, are these suffocation within the bed or within their sleep space. So following that, unintentional suffocation is the leading cause of injury-related deaths among children less than a year old, and 70% of those suffocation deaths are from accidental suffocation in their bed, or again, wherever they're sleeping at. This is an example of a very unsafe sleep environment. That's why I've got a doll in that picture and not a real baby, because everything in that picture is going to be considered unsafe. So having those blankets, having those pillows, having a stuffed animal, all of those things can increase their risk of suffocation. They can, even strangulation, because they can wrap around the baby, they can cover their nose and mouth. And when we're talking about those infants, those 0 to 12 months, they're not always able to recognize that their face is covered, right? As adults, when we're in bed and we get stuffy because the blanket is, our face is in the pillow or the blanket's over our face, we wake up enough and we can get out of that situation. Infants under that year old don't have that ability yet. They're not able to know how all I have to do is move my head, or all I have to do is move my hands and that blanket goes down. So every one of those items is going to be considered an unsafe item to have in that crib, including the hat. Always point that out because sometimes that's forgotten about. Having the hats on babies while they're sleeping, if that falls off, becomes a safe item or a soft item loose in their crib that can cover up their face and mouth. It also can create overheating. So that's something I talk to parents about, is when we're dressing these infants a little too warm, because we think babies need to be all bundled up, but in reality they're much more warmer than what we are. So they don't need all of those layers, and that hat can actually increase that. So we really encourage when we put them down to sleep, take that hat off for multiple reasons. So starting with our first kind of step, that alone. Alone means in their own space. So they're sleeping in their own bed with no one else and nothing else. So that means no family members, no adults, no children, so no siblings in the bed. I even include animals in there. Don't let the dog sleep with them or their cat sleep with them in that crib or that sleep space. Out of those 32 deaths I mentioned at Cook Children's, also over half of them were due to bed sharing or sharing the same space with an adult. That's kind of what we see the most is parents rolling over on top of their infant and then causing them to suffocate, or those blankets, because they've got all their blankets and quilts and comforters in their bed and pillows in the parent's bed, and they get covered. Those nose and mouth get covered as well. Alone also, again, goes for all those extra items that are in that crib, the blankets, the pillows, the stuffed animals. Crib bumper pads, we sometimes see those. Those have actually recently been outlawed. They are no longer allowed to be manufactured or sold in the United States because of the number of deaths that they have caused over the last several years. So we don't see those anymore. I do always tell parents, though, when you go to secondhand, garage sales, places like that, you may still see them out there. So we still don't want to use them. Even if they do see them and have access to them, we don't want to use them because of the number of deaths we've seen from those bumper pads. All right, our next one is on their back. And this is is an easy one because we just want infants to sleep on their back. Prior to the early 1990s, we were told to lay our babies on their tummies. That was the safest way for infants to sleep. All of us were probably placed on our tummy when we were infants because that's what we were told. However, in the mid-1990s, that's when the Back to Sleep campaign came out because the American Academy of Pediatrics learned, and after research, that it's much safer for infants to sleep on their back. So around 1995 is when they started pushing that back to sleep and telling us to turn our infants over. In a matter of years, we saw a decrease of SIDS by almost 50%, that sudden infant death syndrome, only because we rolled babies over. And so now what American Academy of Pediatrics is learning is we need to do that again, because we're still seeing a high rate of sudden infant death syndrome. So what do we do next? And that is those sleep environments. That's creating a safe place for infants to sleep alone with nothing in their crib and always on their back. The point of putting them on their back, and when I have parents that question that, because they're like, well, I was placed on my tummy and I'm still here, I'm still alive, I talk about kind of their anatomy and how they're built. So like right in the front, right, this is where our lungs are, versus in the back of your throat is where you're kind of swallowing, right? That's where your food goes down to your stomach. So parents will say, well, when a baby is laying on their stomach and they spit up, it's not going to go back down into their throat. They're not going to choke. But that is not always the case, right? Because what happens is it goes to that lowest point. So if they are on their tummy and they spit up and they go to swallow it, it goes to that first one, which is their lungs. And then that's what causes them to choke. Whereas if they're on their back and they spit up, it goes back down into their throat, it's going right back down into their stomach. So the likelihood of them choking on their back is less than what it would be if they were on their tummy. Now, can it still happen? Yes, we can't avoid all, but the chances are less likely if we lay those infants on their back versus on their tummy. And then the last area is in a crib. So having an infant, and when we say crib, we really mean kind of any place that's a safety-approved safe place for an infant to sleep. So that could be a crib, it could be a bassinet, it could be a pack and play. But having them in a safety-approved crib, bassinet, or pack and play. With cribs that were manufactured before June of 2011 no longer meet today's safety standards. So what it is one of the things that changed were the drop side cribs. So if you remember, if you had a kiddo before 2011, you could drop the sides of those cribs down and pull your baby out. Well, they stopped those in June of 2011 because what was happening is those drop sides were randomly falling. They weren't always latched back correctly. And we were entrapping limbs and heads, things like that. And so it was causing much more harm. Another thing that changed were the slats, the distance of the slats in cribs. That changed in June 2011, where they were further apart, and so infants were getting their limbs and heads and things stuck between the slats, and so now they've made them closer together, so less likely to get those limbs and things stuck in there. And definitely their head's not going through there. Their arms and legs may get in there, but their head and their necks aren't getting stuck in there. So what I tell parents is if they're using a hand-me-down crib, so maybe they're using their crib because grandma held on to that, is to make sure it was not manufactured before June 2011. If it was, we don't need to use it because it no longer meets the safety standards of today. Another thing parents can do is they can go to cpsc.gov, and they can actually check for recalls on really any safety products. So whether it's a bassinet that they have, a crib they have, a specific toy, their car seat, anything child-related, they can look for recalls on that cpsc.gov website, and that's the Consumer Product Safety Commission, and so cpsc.gov. And they can do a search, and they can find if the product that they're using actually, if it has any recalls, and if it is still safe to use. Two things that are provided to you guys is one, with the partnership of Tarrant Baptist Association, they provide pack and plays that we can give out to the community that they're providing you guys to give out to families. And then we also provide sleep sacks. So it's a little package like this. And sleep sacks are also known as wearable blankets. So instead of putting blankets in the crib, we've got the wearable blankets, which fit nicely around their neck and shoulders, so it can't come up and cover their face, but it billows out at the bottom just like having a blanket. So they can still That's kind of what triggers them to go, okay, it's nap time, okay, it's bedtime. So those are also, that's a nice thing about those sleep sacks. They also come with a board book. These board books come in English and Spanish. We primarily do them in English, but we can get Spanish ones as well, that encourage reading to infants, but then also educate about safe sleep as well. And then a brochure that just talks about all of the recommendations about safe sleep, so how to create that safe sleep environment. Just like poison, just like gun safety, we do train the trainers. So we can have partners come in, and we're going to do a whole hour-long presentation, so you can kind of hear all the details and not just my summarize. But we can also do those train the trainers as well for you guys. All right, any questions?
So I guess this is the exact same way as we're doing the live boxes. So anything that we need to report, we're going to go. We got to talk to the Hope team. They're going to talk to y'all.
We have the stock.
Huh?
We're gonna put all the stock in the warehouse.
I knew we had stock in there, but I mean,
So these, I don't have to have any liability forms for these, because there's not really a liability with these. So these, they can just give out. Tarrant Baptist has a little questionnaire that is just asking for like their block number, their street name, so the parent doesn't even have to sign it. So we're just trying to keep track of like where these pack and plays are going. So it's really by like, at least if we have a zip code, that gives us some information. But it's not, we don't have a liability for, through Tarrant Baptist for those pack and plays.
Zip code for sure, if we get street address, it would better, but it shouldn't require it.
Yeah.
Are you gonna do the QR code for me, or is she doing it too? Is that something I can put on each pack and play?
We already have it, so I can just send it to you.
Perfect.
Yeah,
I
we
can print that
created it for
Put
them.
it on the pack and play, so the fire can pass that, they can scan it right and fill it out on the scene.
Yeah, and yeah, that's all it asks for is block number, street name, and zip code, and that's it. No signature required.
some of these houses or apartments that we're going into, I mean, you've got 3 kids sleeping on a pull-out. And I mean, so are we encouraging that kind of information to come forward, and then y'all are gonna, I mean, what can we at that point tell the parents, hey, this is what you can expect?
Yeah, so, if the 3 kiddos are under 30 pounds, then we'll, or at least one of them, because the pack and plays require them to be no more than 35 inches and no more than 30 pounds. If they exceed that, then the pack and plays aren't gonna be an option for them. But yes, so just like the lock boxes, how, connect with Sam or however that process is gonna work, and then they can get the pack and plays, and we encourage those sleep sacks to go out with the pack and plays. The sleep sacks go much higher. We have some, like this is a small, so this one goes up to 6 months. We have some that go up to like 12 months, but they have like a certain weight and height on them, so these can go up a little bit higher, versus the pack and plays have a very small. All right, so when we are setting up a pack and play, first we need to remember that this pack and play is for children who are less than 30 pounds and less than 35 inches and cannot climb out of the pack and play. If they still fall under that weight and height requirement, but they can crawl out, then we need to stop using this because it can tip over if they're trying to crawl. So when you open up the pack and play, the first thing you're going to do is pull out the pack and play itself. And then to set it up, you're going to pull it apart, but then you're going to pull up each side before you push the center part down. And as you pull up each side, you're going to hear them click into place. And once all 4 have clicked into place, that's when you'll push down in the center and you set up the outside of that pack and play. The next step is to add the mattress. So when you place the mattress, on the bottom of the mattress are little tabs with snaps. And when you place that on the bottom, so that'll be the bottom part of the pack and play, those tabs are going to go through a slot and snap in the bottom of the pack and play.
There's a slot?
Yes. And there's going to be 4 tabs on each corner of that pack and play. So once you've snapped them into place, you can flip your pack and play back over, and your pack and play is set up. Encourage, if you're going to put a sheet on the pack and play, to do a fitted pack and play sheet. So they have specific sheets that fit around that mattress. We don't want to use a full-size bed sheet or even a toddler-size bed sheet. It needs to be a pack and play sheet that fits the thin mattresses of pack and plays. To take it down, you're going to go just the opposite. So you're gonna unsnap the bottom. All 4 tabs. Pull out your mattress. Pull up the red tab on the bottom of the pack and play. And then you're gonna click each button on all 4 sides to collapse the sides. Pull your 4 corners together. And if it gets stuck, you can kind of put it back together, kind of start the process over.
Which we may have to do.
Sometimes it's helpful to have an extra set of hands. You can just go down. And then you wrap your mattress back around, and your pack and play has been broken back down. And that's how you set up a pack and